In the quiet glow of candlelight, the real engines of empire turned. Papers, gold, and signatures, not bullets, built the power that ruled Europe. Every deal made here would echo on the battlefields to come. Europe was a web of alliances, treaties, and debts. Each line on the map, each promise, was another thread waiting to snap. The continent was armed not just with armies, but with obligations. The financiers of the age, Rothschilds, Morgans, Warburgs, did not march with soldiers. Yet their pens carried more weight than any rifle. A single signature could build or break an empire. In London's fog-covered streets, money moved faster than armies. Banks whispered across oceans, trading gold and promises between nations racing toward disaster. Then, one shot shattered the illusion of peace. The death of an archduke lit the fuse. But the powder had been packed by decades of debt and ambition. In smoke-filled chambers, men of wealth and influence leaned over maps of Europe. They didn't ask who would die, only who would pay, and who would profit. Steel screamed, hammers rang, and battleships rose from iron and debt. Each rivet was financed, each gun barrel insured. War was already business before it ever began. While workers toiled in smoke and mud, the wealthy dined in marble halls. Their comfort was paid for by the labor and soon, the blood of millions. The world thought it was stepping into war for honor and revenge. But the truth was quieter, written in ledgers, not letters. The first shot of the Great War was fired by a banker's pen. London, the beating heart of global finance. Beneath the fog and cobblestones, invisible empires of money were being built. Not by kings or armies, but by bankers. Under chandeliers and marble ceilings, fortunes changed hands. Empires borrowed gold, and bankers sold the dream of power for a price. Each signature was a chain, binding nations to debt. Across continents, great banking dynasties played their quiet game. Each move on the board was a loan, a treaty, a nation's destiny. The kings of finance didn't need crowns, they already owned the board. From Berlin to Paris, from London to New York, a web of gold connected them all. The lifeblood of the modern world ran through these invisible arteries of money. And when one empire bled, they all profited. Even ancient empires fell under financial rule. The Ottoman Sultan sat beside Western advisors. His throne intact, but his treasury not his own. Control no longer required conquest, just debt. In the shipyards, sparks lit the dawn of a new arms race. Britain built its pride, the dreadnought, on borrowed gold. And the banks counted every rivet, every cannon, every debt. Across the sea, German factories thundered with the sound of steel and ambition. Smoke filled the skies, and profit filled the banks. Every shell forged meant another coin earned. In the dim light of oil lamps, hands met over contracts. No speeches, no flags, just quiet power trading paper for blood. These were the true battle plans of Europe. The markets roared with the sound of speculation. Paper money flooded like falling snow. As the world edged closer to war, the financiers already smelled opportunity. The world was on fire. From the muddy trenches of France to the ruined villages of Belgium, millions fought and died for causes they barely understood. But behind the thunder of guns, another kind of battle was being won. In the heart of New York, J.P. Morgan's empire hummed with activity. Telegrams flashed across oceans, orders were signed, and every bullet, every uniform, every shell sold carried his profit. War had become an investment. The factories roared like beasts. Sparks flew, metal screamed, and men worked through the night. They weren't just building weapons, they were forging fortunes. At home, civilians were told their savings could win the war. Buy war bonds, the posters said. But for the bankers, it wasn't patriotism, it was business dressed as sacrifice. On Wall Street, The war was chaos, and chaos meant profit. Traders shouted, paper flew, and fortunes changed hands every hour. While soldiers fought for ground, bankers fought for gold. In the mud, men bled and died for king and country. In the warmth of offices, men counted money for power and profit. 2 wars were being fought, only one of them in the trenches. When the Lusitania sank, the world wept. Over 1,000 lives lost. But in boardrooms far away, the market stirred, for every tragedy was a chance to profit from the storm. In a single line of ink, billions were made. Loans to allied governments, J.P. Morgan and Company. Paper, not gunpowder, fueled the most powerful weapon of all debt. On one side, the trenches soaked in rain, blood, and despair. On the other, soft lamplight and polished desks. The guns roared for nations, but the profits whispered for bankers. The guns fell silent. Across Europe, the smoke cleared to reveal a continent in ruins, cities shattered. Empires dissolved, millions gone. The war to end all wars had ended in silence. But while nations counted their dead, the bankers counted their profits. New contracts, new loans, new opportunities. The war had ended, but business had just begun. A new kind of empire emerged, not of armies or colonies, but of credit. Every country owed another. Every debt led to a bank. The chains of war had simply been replaced by chains of finance. At Versailles, they promised peace. Instead, they signed a sentence: reparations, repayments, and rebuilding, all written in ink that would stain the next generation. In Germany, people carried money by the handful and could buy almost nothing. Inflation destroyed savings, homes, and hope. The war was over, but its debts still crushed the living. Across the ocean, America rose from the ashes as the new empire of finance. Wall Street glittered with power and optimism. But beneath that glow, the same old hands still pulled the strings. Workers rebuilt the ruins brick by brick. But in quiet offices, new loans were signed, loans that would keep those same workers in debt for decades. One rebuilt the world. The other owned it.